back to Pints and Punditry, and after this past weekend, we had to do a U.S. men's national team update because there was a ton of development when it comes to figuring out what the roster is going to look like for the United States for this World Cup. So, we had to discuss it because there was so much that happened. If you don't follow us already, follow us on Twitter at TotalFIFACM, and make sure you follow, subscribe here below, and like this video. Helps us out a ton. We've really been trying to track the U.S. men's national team since their summer matches, and as they lead up to this World Cup. But now the players are scattered all across Europe and in the MLS, and they're having various levels of success, and it's really interesting to see how these things develop. And the big development has been the play of Josh Sargent so far. He scored for the first time. He scored last week for the first time in 6, 7, 8 months, something like that. And it was eye-opening because it was like, all right, Josh, you're back. You're on the radar. Norwich is down in the championship, but you're playing and you're healthy, and okay, we see you. You're there. Well, then he comes out this weekend and scores a brace. It was actually on Friday, and it was a 2-0 victory, and he scored both goals. And it's like, all right. Not only do we see you, we're paying attention. And what's interesting about Josh Sargent is, the hype was real, right? It was big time, and it was probably premature. But hype being premature doesn't mean the player's not legit, and not living up to the hype immediately doesn't mean he's not gonna be a guy. He's still young. And I got into a Twitter discussion with Nate Tice from The Athletic this weekend, and it was eye-opening because it's true. He had commented that the championship is the place to be for Josh Sargent, and there's probably some truth to that. The Premier League was probably too much for him at the time when he got there, and I sort of countered back, and Nate agreed. It was not just that he wasn't ready, but Norwich sucked, right? They were terrible, and so you're in a bad situation. And then on top of it, he wasn't healthy, and then on top of that, he wasn't playing at his preferred striker position. He was, in deference to Timu Pukki, and I get that because he's a established veteran. When Sargent played, he was sort of being cast outside, and Sargent can handle things on the wing, but it's not his natural position. It's not his preferred position, and it's not where he belongs. It's not where he's best. And so there were a lot of things working against Josh Sargent in the Premier League. Too much too soon, on a bad team out there getting your ass kicked every week. He wasn't fully healthy, and he was playing out of position. And we wonder why this didn't go well. I mean, this is not tough to figure out. So, yes, he's back in the championship, and it's a lower level, and I'm sure that has something to do with it. There's no doubt. But he's also playing as the tip of the spear. He's playing as the striker, and that has helped too. And oh, by the way, he's healthy. And oh, by the way, at the championship level, Norwich is good. And so there's a lot of things that work in his favor. Now, what does this mean for the U.S. men's national team? Well, it doesn't answer any questions. It actually creates more questions than it answers, but that's all right. One of our first videos here at Pints and Punditry was, how do we not know who the striker is on the U.S. men's national team? And part of the reason, just outside of Greg Berhalter's lack of ability to vary outside of his system, is Josh Sargent disappeared. And Sargent was supposed to be the guy, right? By this point, we all assumed he'd be the guy, and he sort of fell off. Well, you know what? He's back. And so what that does is it brings him back in the discussion. And that's all we know for now. We're a couple weeks into the season. We don't know what it's going to look like a month from now, 2 months from now, but what we do know is Josh Sargent is back in the discussion for striker for the U.S. men's national team. Now, what'll be interesting is he hasn't played with the first team in a long time. They do have 2 friendlies before the World Cup. If it was today, he'd be on that roster. He would probably take Ricardo Pepi's spot because Pepe is not playing much right now. And so he might slide into that spot. But you almost have to have him right now because of what he's done the last 2 weeks. And because nobody is running away with that spot, yeah, it varies that much by week, by goal, by game, by player, because no one's running away with it. But I'll tell you what, if Josh Sargent does this for a few more weeks, he's going to start because he's the guy that everyone sort of wanted to take charge of this position. And frankly, he hasn't. But maybe now he is. So it remains to be seen. But he wasn't the only U.S. men's national team striker who had a big weekend. It's almost like they felt the need to respond. Sargent was on Friday, and then come Saturday, Haji Wright. You know, remember Haji Wright from stepping in the Nations League games. Haji Wright went for 2 goals and an assist for Antalyaspor in the Turkish league. That's where he's playing, in the freaking Turkish league. But hey, goals are goals and playing is playing. I personally think Haji Wright's a bit of a long shot, but after Jesus Ferreira and Ricardo Pepi really failed to take hold of the spot, Haji Wright got some time down the stretch in the Nations League and did some stuff. And so, he's in the discussion as much as anybody, and he's out there scoring goals. Listen, all you can do is play the best you can against the competition you're being put up against. And yeah, he's in the Turkish league, but hey, he's scoring goals, so more power to him. He's not going away, and that's the key point. In addition to him, Jordan Pefok. Jordan Pefok scored has been scoring a lot of goals. He's playing for Union Berlin, and he had a goal and an assist this weekend as they took on RB Leipzig. But he's got 3 goals and an assist in the first 4 Bundesliga games. Now, where does the Bundesliga factor into all this? You've heard a lot about the Bundesliga tax lately, which is basically you have to discount the amount of goals scored in that league because it's a highly offensive league. Well, that's fine, but again, goals are goals. We're not going to discount Jesus Ferreira for scoring in MLS, are we? Probably not. So, the point here is we've got a lot of the guys in this U.S. men's national team striker conversation out there playing well, and scoring goals. And that's a good thing. And now you got Sargent back in the mix with Wright and Pefok and Pepe and Ferreira. And, hey, we got a free-for-all on our hands. So, God bless Greg Berhalter for trying to figure this out. It's part of his own fault for putting us in this situation, but we got options, and none of them are dominant, but we have depth, if nothing else. Looking beyond the striker position, holy shit, was it fun to watch Leeds this weekend. If you're an American football fan watching across the pond in Europe, God, that was fun. A 3-0 ass whooping of Chelsea. For me, the most fun part was watching Jesse Marsh going apeshit on the sidelines, particularly after Brendan Aronson's goal. And Aronson is quickly becoming potentially the U.S. men's national team's best player. Not most talented. It's still Christian Pulisic. But Pulisic isn't playing a whole lot. Aronson, okay, maybe not best player, but most important player. He's certainly going to be the player that's in the best form. There's other guys that are playing great. His own teammate, Tyler Adams, who I'll get to in a second, played great. Weston McKennie's playing. But, Brendan Aronson is really taking on a really predominant role for Leeds under Jesse Marsh. And it's going well. They paid a lot of money to get him. And, his goal was pure hustle and pure motivation and pure just pressure that he put on Mendy, the goalkeeper for Chelsea, and he just made him screw up and got the easiest goal of his life after he did the dirty work. And it's just fantastic to see. And there was a lot of shit being talked about Jesse Marsh recruiting these American players. Well, who's laughing now? Because Leeds is legitimate, Brendan Aronson's legitimate, and so is Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams was the man of the match. against Chelsea by a lot of accounts and a lot of the different pundits that choose man of the match. He was the guy. He's been covering more ground than almost anybody in the Premier League. He has made Leeds forget all about Calvin Phillips. And, one of the arguments I made earlier in the season was Leeds selling off Calvin Phillips, yes, obviously led to a downgrade in that particular position going to Tyler Adams, but the money let them reinforce things in other places. And that's true, and that remains true, and that's part of why they're having success. But, God, the downgrade may not have been as much as we thought. And I'm a huge Tyler Adams fan, and I'm very high on him. I'm on the high range on Tyler Adams before this season, and I'm still impressed. And that's what's helping Leeds so much right now is his ability to help control the ball, control the pace, control the defense. And Chelsea just didn't know what to do, and they got down early and they gave up. And Chelsea's is their own mess, and I'm going to talk about that in our weekly recap. So don't forget to check that out. Again, subscribe, like, follow us on Twitter, TotalFIFACM if you don't. But Tyler Adams is not messing around. So really, really exciting things coming out of Leeds, not just as an American fan, but really with ramifications for the men's national team. Last topic for the men's national team with significant ramifications. Gio Reyna is back. He's back. He played 29 minutes. He survived. I'm thrilled. Listen, he's got a long way to go. He came off the bench for Dortmund, but he's back. He made it through a third of a game. I'm not knocking the guy. It's been a long road. It's been just torturous for him, I'm sure, to watch as a fan. He's one of the heartbeats of this team. He's in that discussion for most talented player on the team with Pulisic, and he just hasn't been healthy. And for the U.S. can get out of the group stage without him, but for them to have any chance of progressing, they need their most talented players. Pulisic, Reyna, McKennie. Those are the three most talented, pure talent, not performance, pure talent on the roster. And he hasn't been able to play in so long. And so to see him back on the pitch is massive. Now, again, came on as a sub, played 29 minutes, baby steps. But we're watching. And he made it, and he survived, and he's eligible to play in the next game because he didn't get hurt. And I'll take that for now. That's huge. So we'll see where it goes for now. But in terms of developments for the men's national team for the World Cup, Gio Reyna stepping on the pitch and playing till the end of a game, I don't care when he stepped on, not leaving under injury, it's massive. It's massive. It's huge. So a lot of developments this weekend. The striker debate is as confusing but as deep as ever and only getting deeper. Aronson, Adams, locking their spots in, doing stuff in the Premier League. I'm loving it. It's so fun to watch. And Gio Reyna is alive and well, and I hope he stays that way, and I want to see more. So I'm excited about what's happening with Americans abroad. So much fun to watch, and we're starting to get the feeling that something's building here, so it's a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us, as always, here on Pints and Punditry. Again, make sure you follow us on Twitter, TotalFIFACM. Subscribe down below. Hit that like button for me. It does a lot of good. And thanks for joining us. We're going to keep talking about this as the season goes on. As always, this is Total FIFA Career Mode.